in this next episode of the Waboripedia, the Figure Behind the Ink interview series, where we sit down with respected Horishi, or traditional Japanese tattooers from all around the world. We will be sitting down with Rodrigo Melo. Rodrigo Melo is a Woodstock, New York-based Horishi, whose unique style translates to timeless designs. Join me as we sit down with Rodrigo Melo and learn more about the figure behind the ink. Rodrigo Melo, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
I get a lot of messages from the community, a lot of positive messages. They're saying, hey, you're doing an awesome job, and that's fantastic. But then they also suggest people who I should have in the series, right, in the interviews. And then there was a name that kept popping over again and again and again. People kept asking for Rodrigo Melo. So now finally we have Rodrigo Melo in here.
Very cool, man. I appreciate it, man. I'm humbled by your asking me to be on this, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for being here. You have a private studio up in Woodstock.
That's
New
correct.
York, right?
That's where I am right now. I'm at the studio.
Okay, very very nice studio. I can tell from the pictures, and people will be able to see that when we walk through your works. So
thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I want to start by saying apologize about the 100 questions in the beginning of our meeting there online, but nowadays there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of people doing things that maybe they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
and I just want to make sure to support the right people and be in the right place. That's all.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's totally understandable. So no worries.
And I appreciate you as a collector and everything. That's what this is all about, man. Without people like you, what we do wouldn't be possible.
Yeah,
so
appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
All right, awesome, man. All right, so let's just dive right into it. Why don't we just start peppering you with questions? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your tattooing background, and you got started with Horimono?
Well, I'm a self-taught artist, so I learned on my own. I got into it pretty young. I think I was probably maybe 15, 16 years old, and I have an older brother. He's about 6 years older than me, and my brother's always been into alternative lifestyles and different things like that. And I know how it is, bigger brother. You always look up to your bigger brother. And he came home one day with a huge tribal tattoo on his arm, and that just blew me away. That was like, wow, what is this? What's this crazy thing? And that was kind of like the spark to me wanting to learn about the craft and everything. So I owe a lot to my big brother, Alessandro. He's over there in Rio. I'm from Rio originally. My family immigrated to America in 1985, 86. And so I grew up in Jackson Heights, Queens, New York. And yeah, man, as a kid, growing up in the city really introduces you to a lot of different subcultures and all kinds of different things, especially with my brother, skateboarding and all kinds of different things. And yeah, man, that really sparked my, my interest and wanting to know what's going on with this. What's this tribal thing you got? How'd you get it? Did it hurt? How did it work? And then I remember that after that, it was just an obsession, really. I bought every tattoo magazine I could get my hands on. I, researched as much as I possibly could at the time. There was no internet, there was anything. It was just, you go to Tower Records and look through the magazines and find the new issue of Skin Art or, International or something like that. And yeah, man, that was like the beginning of the spark for me. And I was about 16 years old and was going around the East Village or anywhere where I knew tattoo shops trying to get an apprenticeship, a job or something.
Right.
Every place I went to, it was like, man, you can't even be in here, much less learn how to tattoo or stuff. It was tough at first because there was no real doors opening for me. But I was persistent. I kept at it, and I kept trying to learn until when I was about 17 years old, I moved out to Puerto Rico with my brother. He had some friends out there, And we went out there, kind of a hippie kind of thing. I used to make jewelry, sell them in the street in Old San Juan, things like that. Eventually, we opened a little shop there. And one day, this guy walked into the studio, to the shop, and he looked around. Cool looking guy. He had some tattoos. At the time, I only had a little Crimson Ghost tattoo on my forearm that I did myself. I was into punk rock, all that kind of stuff. And he looked at me. He's like, "Oh man, I like the tattoo, man. That's cool, man." And he's like, "I like the name of the studio, this and that." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And we became friends. And he's the person that I owe a lot to. He's the person that got me started in this business. His name is Harry Seda. Speaking about dropping names, he's definitely somebody you should look into, maybe doing an interview with, because he's an extraordinary human being. He's the one that helped me get started. He, gave me basically the open door to be able to start tattooing in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. There was some artists left the studio he was working in, and he recommended me to the owner. The owner called me in New York at the time. I was going back and forth, and offered me a job. I didn't have a portfolio or anything, and he's like, "Yeah, all I need is like 10 to 20 pictures of your best work, and you're in." So that month, man, I must have tattooed every person I know, man, every friend I know, every human being that was willing to get tattooed by me. I put a little portfolio together, and I went to Puerto Rico, and the studio was called Casa de la Raza. It was a half tattoo shop, half Harley Davidson, like dealership kind of thing. Not a dealership, but they had like clothing and they had gear and stuff like that. The owner was a piercer, actually. He wasn't a tattoo artist, Javier. But yeah, man, I started there, with Harry, and he didn't formally apprentice me, but he was the only person that I can ask questions and he would answer. I got tattooed by him a lot.
Right.
And he was open to answering all my questions. And that's really what you need at that point in your career. Somebody that's open to tell you about magnum needles and, how to do this or that. So I never had a formal apprenticeship with him, but I feel like I consider him my sensei, because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to Harry Seda. He has a tattoo shop in Puerto Rico and one in Hawaii as well, called Old Ironside Tattoo. That was in Sailor Jerry's original shop back in the day. He inherited it. But yeah, man, he's a good dude, and I owe a lot to him. So shout out to Harry Seda. And yeah, man, once I, in Puerto Rico, was tattooing a lot, just walking. Most of my career, I've been a walk-in artist. My specialty was whatever walked in the door. I had to survive. I had to, pay my rent. So I did everything. And I'm glad I did, because I learned a lot from doing that. I learned a lot. I learned, I gained some speed. I learned about, one of the main things in tattooing is dealing with people. A lot of people don't consider that. Think about the art and this and that. That's great. But if you don't know how to deal with people, if you don't know how to talk to people, you're not a people person, is just not going to work out. It's going to be a much tougher road to get through. So I definitely learned a lot of that in Puerto Rico, working there. And, eventually, Puerto Rico is an island. So eventually you just tattoo a lot of people and it just becomes a little bit closed. So I needed to expand a little bit and, just trying to do bigger work and more work. That's when I moved back to New York, and I got a job working at Fun City in the Lower West Side in McDougal Street. And yeah, that's a whole nother story that I learned a lot from that as well. But as far as art is concerned, I think the main drive for tattooing at that time when I started was realistic style. For me, that was the goal. Like, I loved, Paul Booth and these people doing realistic tattoos, and I was just in awe of the technique. I couldn't believe that something like that could be done on skin. And I was very much, towards that vein. I think the first 3 or 4 years of my career, other than, street shop walk and stuff, I do mostly realistic black and gray. I have a 3 needle and a 7 mag, everything, everything at the time, and you know, I was able to do it pretty well, and got to the point that I was just doing that, and I kind of figured it out. When I figured out the technique, because it's a technique, it's something that you can learn if you have the skills, of course. But yeah, after a while, it just I don't know. I just kind of grew a little bit bored with it. I felt like I was just copying a lot. I wasn't illustrating, I wasn't drawing. I was just putting what people brought on the skin, and like a human copy machine. I'd be very, exactly that. Maybe if I had kept going with it, I would expand into different realms and throwing my own thing into it. But I never got to that point. It was just very tedious for me, and I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do. I like to illustrate, like drawing, like creating. So I started going towards different paths. I tried, first of all, I got into the traditional Americana style because of the boldness of it, just aesthetically, it really attracted me. And then when I started learning about the history and why things are the way they are, that even made it even better. That made it even more rich and understanding. And, one thing led to another. I started doing bigger, what I thought was traditional American at the time. Now I see it, look back, it's more of a neo-traditional. But, I started doing more larger scale, and that brought me into more of a new school style and underlighting and techniques like that. I was really into it. Little by little, a long journey. A long journey. I think it wasn't until my 7th year, maybe, or 8th year of tattooing that I started to be more open towards the Japanese style, and really kind of starting to the pursuit of studying it. Before that, I didn't understand enough of the Japanese style to appreciate it for what it was.
Right.
All I have seen was Horiyoshi and Mick and Philip style, more European kind of thing. And I thought it was amazing, really amazing work. I just didn't understand it. I didn't have the vocabulary, the visual vocabulary to be able to understand it properly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I met a very significant person that those things changed. It was around 2005. I think it was 2005, 4, maybe something like that. That I went back to Brazil, and one of the main artists that I've always looked up to starting tattooing was this guy, Mauricio Teodoro. Mauricio is like the Brazilian Philip Blue. He's just an amazing artist, and his talent is beyond anything, and at least at the time, and still is, I think. And he was the only person that I saw his flash up on the walls everywhere I went in New York City. There was some Mauricio flash somewhere, some cool, like, Viking kind of thing. And he did a lot of that kind of like mystical kind of style. Very intricate, but beautifully illustrated stuff. So I was amazed by this guy. I'm like, I got to meet this guy. Who's this guy? Mauricio. Good friend of mine, Rico Daruma on Instagram. He took me to go see him. Actually, a friend of ours, Keith, was getting a back piece by him. And it was a funny story, actually, man. We get there. We have to take a bus 6 hours from Rio to São Paulo. So we get there, and we got there late, man. So we got there like maybe 45 minutes, an hour late. So we walk into the place, and we get there, and we see, I meet Mauricio for the first time, which was an amazing experience. Most humble, talented dude I've ever met. The guy was really, really awesome. Actually, when I met him, I thought he was the counter person or something. I didn't know he was Mauricio because he was just so open. He came out, he wanted to see my portfolio, looking through my portfolio more than the clients looked through it. It was really a cool, very humbling experience, to meet Mauricio. But yeah, so my friend Kiko was getting tattooed with somebody named Ivan Zazi. And Ivan, he comes from the lineage of like Philip and Mick, European guy of that age. And when we get there, man, he's tattooing himself. We walk into the studio and he's tattooing his own leg filling in a peony on the leg sleeve that Philip did on him. And I was like, what? Like, what is this? This is crazy, you know, this guy's crazy. Anyway, he was like, you're late, so I'm not going to tattoo you to my friend. And just the way he is, man. He's a great guy, but he's a little different generation, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, when I saw Ivan's work, it just blew my mind. To me, it was like the perfect combination of the traditional Americana stuff that I love with the Japanese integrated with it, you know, like really bold images, the kind of stuff that I would only see in old books of, you know, tattooers when it was just hand poke, when it just did tebori, everything, outline and everything, very crude kind of work. But he was doing this in a newer technique with machines, and changed my life, man, blew my mind. That trip, I got tattooed with Mauricio, and I set up an appointment to get my back piece started with Ivan.
Nice.
It was that trip, man, and that, you know, big up to Ivan Zazi, man. He's definitely a big inspiration. And not just me, but I feel like there's a whole crew of people that were inspired by him as well. In Brazil, they call us Filho do Ivan. Filhos do Ivan, which means the children of Ivan, you know. So there's quite a few characters I'm sure you're familiar with that are, you know, kind of his lineage, you know, people that got heavily tattooed by him and continue that kind of style, which actually became a whole kind of a renaissance in that way, you know. Before that, you wouldn't see that kind of style too much. It would be very rare. It would be only him, maybe a few others doing it. But after that, it really opened up the gates to younger tattooers. Younger, I mean, I'm older now, but at the time I was considered a younger tattooer to that kind of style, you know. So big up to Ivan Zazi. He's in São Paulo. And yeah, he was a big inspiration in my work, for sure. For sure. I'm sorry, I kind of lost track there for the original question. How I got started, but I figured it would be an interesting little story for the ones that are into this kind of stuff. You know?
No, exactly. That's exactly the whole point. So this is good. I'm sure people are eating it up. This is good. This
awesome,
is great.
Awesome, very cool. So yeah, man, that's the how I got started then.
Awesome. So actually, you know, I'm hearing a lot of, you know, influences, and you went through a lot of styles, right? And it sounds like we know you're talented, right? So I'm sure you were very skillful at all those different styles that you partook in. But then what can you tell us about your current, like, colors and your current composition style?
I'm very aesthetics driven. So for me, it's like a visual kind of thing where whatever looks right to me, you know, it's really hard to explain. I don't try to do it like super old school or super new school. I just do kind of like what I think looks good aesthetically, you know, not trying to be super classic using only reds and grays or something like that, which is cool. You know, I'm into that too, if the client requests that, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to push it in that direction just because I'm open to everything, you know. I like all colors. I like all kinds of things, you know. But I definitely am more attracted to the more traditional style, more classic style, which honestly nowadays is becoming a little bit hard to categorize, because at one point, you know, I was considering what I did very traditional, but it really depends on, it's all relative in life, you know. It depends who you're comparing it to, what you're looking at. Some people that, if you put my work next to my stuff, looks super new school compared to that, you know, or vice versa, you know. So it's the lines are definitely starting to blur a little bit more lately when it comes to style and things, because there's so much of it. There's so many people doing different things, you know.
Yeah.
As far as you said color and stuff like that, yeah, man, I like a big color palette. I'm into color. I like it. I like color, but I don't like things too colorful. If that makes any sense, you know.
Yeah.
For the most part, the black in the background is really the foundation of what I do. I try to do a tattoo in a way where if one day all the colors fade, it'll still look great because it looks good, just black and line, you know? I feel like that's my goal. If it doesn't look good with black and line, then I need to do some more black or some more shade, you know, before I do any color. So I try to balance it that way. And also, it's an individual thing. Everybody's different. You know? If a client comes in and he wants color, and then, you know, I look at the client and I feel this aura. I feel like, oh, this person is very colorful. He's this kind of person. That's his, you know, that's his way of being. So I think it fits well, you know, with all this color. If the person's a little iffy, they're like, oh, I don't know, maybe just black, gray, or just a little color. Then I would try to push towards something more simplistic, just reds and greens, or just to match the person. I think a tattoo should match the person. It's not just about what I do. It's about, the canvas is a live canvas, so it's a different kind of thing. I can, and people do, but I rather not do a tattoo strictly for my style. I want to do something that looks good on the person that's wearing it as well. Not just, oh, look at me, this is what I do, put it on your skin, take a picture of it, and that's it. No, I want to make it look right, especially if somebody, I mean, a lot of people that come to me, they have a lot of work. I have some people that come in with nothing, but for the most part, especially tattoo artists, I tattoo a lot of tattoo artists, and they have a lot of work. So I want to do something that goes with what they have somehow, you know, somewhat has a nice flow with what's already existing there. I think that adds to the fun of what we do, not just working on the composition. Yeah, working on composition on your design, great, but have it fit that person right. I feel like that's the magic. That's when those two things come together and make this beautiful, you know, aesthetically pleasing thing. But I'm just rambling here, man. Sorry about that.
No, that's good. That's good. This is cool. This is very good. Awesome.
Cool, man.
No, that's great. And actually, while you were, you know, talking about working on tattooers of other stuff already, right? I was thinking, I interviewed Chris Wilk a couple of weeks or even months back. I don't know. I'm lost in time.
Great guy. Man.
But he sort of extended on some of the work that you did on somebody. And so,
that's right. Yeah. He did a sleeve.
Yeah.
On a gentleman that I did a rib piece on. But that gentleman has a lot of work. He had a beautiful back piece. He had a bunch of, before I even tattooed him, he was already a pretty serious collector. It just happens to be that the sleeve he did is right on the side of the rib I did. So, and I think it's beautiful the way he did spider webs to match, and it all looks fluent and flowing. That's really cool, man. That just shows you that he's on that level and to do something properly. He's not just trying to do his own thing. He's trying to go like exactly what I was just talking about a minute ago, right? Flow, for sure, man. Chris is a great guy, man.
Awesome. So, you know, I think I might already know the answer to my next question around influences, right? I think you mentioned Ivan Sassi, right? But
right.
Do you have like any other big influences for your like the way you currently work and do stuff?
Well, yeah, Ivan was definitely a big influence on my work, and you know, my good friend Harry got me started with this. I would say also, just to shout out some names, Rico Dadamangoya, he went to Japan, and his wife Shion Irezumi. They're amazing people, amazing artists. Definitely a type of connection that I have to Japan through them. And I'm very grateful for their help and everything they've done. Other than Ivan, those guys are the ones that did the most work on my bodysuit. So most of it is done by them. So I got to spend a lot of time with them. I got to get tattooed in Japan with them. And it's definitely a big influence in what I do, man. I think they're probably one of the best tattooers on the planet right now, in my opinion. You know, so definitely shout out to them, and anybody that knows what's up should go and check them out, because they're doing some very, very special stuff for sure. And as far as nowadays, I just, you know, I like to go into the older stuff, you know, the old prints, old Japanese prints, and that's really my main focus. And other than that, it's just the study of background. You know, that's something that really draws my attention. I think that is the thing that separates one Japanese style tattoo artist from another. Because in reality, we all use the same reference. We're all using old prints. We're all using a lot of similar things. I mean, and you even see it in art that, like, you know, this person did this character and both the same shape, same position, everything, because we're representing the same thing. But the difference is the background. That's what makes or breaks the tattoo artist. That's what, you know, the decision between, you know, how much of a percentage of black in the ratio to gray do I use? You know, some people like to use 90% black, you know, and then 10% gray. Some people like, you know, 70%, 60% black and more gray. So that, you know, depends. And the thickness of the bars and those things all have to do with you know, the taste of the tattoo artist. You know, that's the composition. You know, I believe that the image of the tattoo tells the story, which is super important. But the background is what makes it look good. And, you know, so without the right background, the story could be awesome, but it won't be right. Or with a beautiful background, but you don't know the story, also doesn't work, you know. So it's kind of a combination of both, for sure. For sure, a combination of both.
Also, that's cool to hear. I'm sure a lot of people will find that very interesting, right? Because it's like a personal proprietary formula and how you formulate that background, right? And obviously, you know, a lot of very important, historical, legendary, whatever Horishi have said the same thing, right? It's the backgrounds that really separate, you know, the levels in skill and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and that's something that it really depends. You know, I come from a very specific, you know, like I'm very specific in what I'm doing because I'm not Japanese. So I'm not bound to certain laws by who taught me how to tattoo, what region I tattoo in, what kind of look that region has, you know. So as a foreigner, I am able to get a little bit from each thing that I appreciate. Like, I like this kind of thing. I like that kind of thing. So I'm not bound to any one specific look because I'm not Japanese. And I'm not trying to be. I just want to do a nice, beautiful design. You know, a lot of people say that when they see my work, they recognize it as my style. But, you know, in reality, it's not really my goal. I'm not trying to do something specifically me. I'm trying to do as classic as I aesthetically can see the thing to do it, you know? So I'm trying to make it as classic as possible. So there's somebody that doesn't know would look at it and be like, wow, that looks like it was done, you know, maybe 50 years ago in Japan somewhere. You know, and somebody that does know what's up will look at it and be like, oh, this is supposed to be that way. That goes with that. You know, you got it done with somebody that understands, you know. So that's my goal, is not to be different or doing it, because I'm not. All I'm doing is I'm redoing all these old prints that have been around forever. I'm not coming up with anything new. I'm not trying to, you know, reinvent anything. I'm just trying to do it as classic and as clean as possible. That's my goal.
Also, there you have it, Rodrigo, the most humble Horishi on the planet.
Hey, man, you know, it's just the truth. It's just, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, this tattoo thing that we do is much bigger than any one of us. You know, much bigger than any one of us. So it's the important thing is to do a good tattoo. You know, most clients don't care whether, you know, you redid this drawing from a print or you did, you know, this influence that. They don't care. They just want a nice, beautiful tattoo. And that's my job to do that for them as much as I possibly can. You know?
Awesome. Awesome. So the next question, kind of random in this whole conversation. It's sort of like a new one that I'm incorporating into the series, right? But I did notice that you've been, actually, let me preface this, right? I think most tattooers nowadays, they just do maybe one type of Mikiri, right? And the Mikiri is like the where the background cuts off, right? For those that don't know. But then I've seen that you've you've played around or you've actually done some compositions with different types of Mikiri, right? So I'm wondering, what is your thought process behind choosing a Mikiri type for your works?
Well, I think going back to what we spoke before, that I'm not bound to any specific family or structure or anything like that. I like to take from all different places. And as far as Mikiri is concerned, I feel like most important is the person, back to the client, you know? So I'm going to pick a Mikiri for this person that suits them the best. You know what I'm saying? So if for example, if I'm doing a sleeve on somebody, I'm doing a sleeve on a lady or something like that. She wants a half sleeve or something like that. And, you know, everybody has different shaped bodies, different size arms. If you have a little bigger arm, a little thicker arm, I always recommend you do more, maybe a 3/4 sleeve instead of a half a sleeve. That way tapers a little bit more and it looks more elegant, more clean. Even though it's more tattoos, it's very nice, aesthetically looking and pleasing. It makes the body look even better. Understand? So I want to do something that makes the client look good. You know, if you know, depends on the body shape, body type.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where I mostly try to focus when it comes to Mikiri and cuts and stuff like that. And that's it, man. That's kind of like the main idea behind it. Since I'm not bound to any specific thing that I have to do, it's nice to try different things. You know, I have the ability to be able to do that every single day that I come into work. So it's I like to talk to clients about that, like what do they feel, how they want this tattoo to look on them, and what kind of thing are they trying to, you know, you want it to show a lot, you want it to look tough, you want it to look soft, you want it, you know, all those things I think have to do with the kind of Mikiri that you're doing. And I feel that Mikiri is a very underestimated thing, especially with American tattoo or non-Japanese tattooers. People just don't really pay too much attention to that. And I feel like when I see other tattoos, that's really one of the main thing I look at. I look at that first. You know, I think that's aesthetically the tattoo looks a certain way because of the cut, of the Mikiri cut. So if it's the tattoo could be a beautiful tattoo, but if the Mikiri is wrong, it's too much, or too little, or weird cut, especially the chest band on the ending of the shoulder cap, back of the neck, you know, those things are so important that I feel like if you don't put the right Mikiri, at least for me personally, kind of kills the whole thing if you're not really paying attention to that, you know?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So actually kind of shifting gears to like sort of like your favorite stuff and figures and so on and so forth. Do you have like a favorite subject or design to tattoo?
Man, I would say it would kind of bring back again to what we were talking about before. I would say my favorite subject to tattoo is background, even though it's not the subject, you know. Say background and flowers. I think that's really everything to me. I think that's, if I could do a bodysuit just background and flower, that would be ideal, you know, just because I feel like that's the root of what I do. Is my favorite part. I remember getting my back piece done, and I have a bunshosei in my back, the God of Learning. It's a hokusai design that Ivan did on me, and he lined and did all the skin on the character one shot, and some detail on the clothes. I was going to Brazil once a year. I stay there for a week. I get 3-4 sessions. And the first time I went, he just did the image. And then when I came back, I was like, oh, I love what he did, but I can't wait to get some more background. You know, that's the thing that I admire the most of his, that he does, is the background. And because of that, it drew me to really studying the background and really wanting to figure it out best I could. And yeah, that's my favorite thing to do, is background. As far as styles are concerned, I love all titles. Everything is great. I love doing the ones I did before because I get to improve on it and do it a little bit better than I did last time, do it a little bit different things that last time I didn't do on the Horishi. This Horishi, I'm going to do it like this and add this to it, that. I really enjoy that. But I also enjoy doing titles that I've never done before because it's challenging. You know, I have to study. I have to know what goes with what. You know, what's the best? What's the story behind it? Can I manipulate in a way where I can go with the story but still look good with this person? That kind of thing. Especially figurative stuff. For me, figurative work is more challenging. I've always had more of a challenge doing figurative stuff. So I think it's probably my favorite now because of the challenge. You know, if I'm doing figure stuff, I have to really study and really work on that, you know, and that's a very fulfilling thing to be able to do that and then make it happen, make that come to life, you know. And I've been doing it for over 25 years now, but I feel like I started yesterday. I feel like I'm still learning. I'm still very psyched about it and very hyped about it. Every time somebody gets a new project, whether it's a character or just background or whatever it is, it's a beautiful thing, man. I feel very blessed to be able to do what I do.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that's part of what makes it great, right? That it's an ever going journey of learning, right? You just continue to learn and grow, and that's fantastic.
If you want to,
right?
If you want to, you know, if you want to, for sure. I can see, you know, I see a lot of older tattooers where they just kind of got to a certain level and they stay there. And it's understandable, man. It takes a lot of work, man. You got to be on top of it constantly, you know. So many young cats out there killing it and doing all this awesome stuff, posting 10 pictures a day and you know. So for an older tattooer, I can see how it gets tiring to try and keep up, you know. But for me, so far, it's still fun. And I really enjoy trying to keep up, and I get inspired by new artists all the time. People I've been tattooing half the time I've been doing some cool stuff. I'm like, wow, that's cool, you know, like, this is cool. It's all good, man. It's just you know, a matter of a perspective, how you look at it. If you see it as a good thing, you're gonna enjoy it. If you see that's trouble, then it's gonna be hard, because it's hard.
Yeah,
you gotta be on top of it. It takes a lot of effort to stay relevant and stay on top of the game, for sure.
Cool. And, you know, I think I know the answer to this one based on what you've told me so far, but I'll ask it anyway. And the question is there like a design or character or whatever that you'd like to tattoo, but haven't had the chance yet?
Haven't had a chance to tattoo. There's lots, man. There's lots of characters I haven't had the chance to tattoo. Nothing specific that I'm like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. I've been very privileged to be able to do a lot of really cool stuff. Sometimes when I have something I haven't done yet, it takes very little effort to show some clients, and they're like, "Oh, great, let's do it," you know. So I'm very fortunate to be able to have a clientele like that basically just want, you know, the cool stuff. They want what I do best. They know enough to want what I do best, you know. So I don't have anything specific that I want to do, but maybe that what we spoke about earlier, you know. I would like to do a bodysuit, just background and flower. That would be pretty cool. I haven't done that yet. You know, I haven't been able to talk anybody into that yet. Sleeves, I've been doing a bunch of sleeves, just maples or just background, which is wonderful, you know, because that way you're no longer thinking of it as a sleeve that becomes part of the suit. You're not thinking of it as one arm, it's both arms, you know, it's one thing. So that's been really, really awesome. But I've yet to do just flowers on the back piece. I would love to. Something like a chrysanthemum back piece. That would be excellent.
Also, well, there you go for the listeners and the viewers.
Yeah, if anybody out there wants that, you know, hit me up. Let me know.
Awesome. All right. Well, what about Suikoden? Do you have like a favorite Suikoden, like outlaw or saint?
Yeah, Suikoden outlaw. Well, it's a complicated subject, you know, because I see that it's very popular amongst people. People like getting that, but it's important to have knowledge about it so you could educate your client about what they're getting, you know. They're cool characters and stuff, but if you read the stories and you read what's going on, they're like badasses, man. Some gangster stuff, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm getting this cool guy on my back. This dude killed mad people and all this crazy stuff, you know? So it's kind of heavy, you know? People taking it lightly. I want this cool tattooed character, but in reality, man, you know, it's a gangster kind of tattoo. You know? I believe that tattooing has the power to make the wearer turn into what they're getting, right? So if you get a big tiger back piece, you know, your back now has actual tiger stripes on it. So you're partial tiger. You know? You get in the Suikoden heroes, like, he's a badass, you're a badass, you overcome certain things, and you relate to that whole thing, you know? So I think it's important that people are aware, and not necessarily people, but tattoo artists. Okay, it's not their responsibility; it's our responsibility to educate them, because they don't know, and it's okay for them not to know. That's absolutely fine, but not so okay if we don't know and we're doing it. You know? I don't think it's necessary that you know everything, every title, everything that means. Nobody knows that. It's too much. But at least as a tattoo artist, the minimum we could do is learn about each character that we do on the skin. We get the opportunity to do this character, so I'll research this character most I possibly can, and now I know about this one character that I've tattooed, and then the next one, and then the next one. You know, that way you educate yourself slowly, and the idea actually sticks. You know, I try to, whenever I'm doing a drawing of a character, I like to write some notes on the side. Oh, this character does this, or he has that. So remember this about this character. That when I'm drawing, I'm thinking about these ideas. Putting them together. I think that makes for a better overall tattoo, more knowledgeable tattoo for sure.
Yeah, you make a lot of good points. In fact, maybe 3 points I'd like to comment on. Well, first, you know, the whole, you know, what you tattoo sort of influences your behavior and so on and so forth. I think that's a big driver of why people get certain tattoos, right? They wouldn't get a tattoo of something if it's total counter to their personality, right?
Exactly.
So that's an important one. And then also, you know, you mentioned the Suikoden characters, that they're sort of like, they're not good guys, right? They're actually pretty messed up, messed up people.
Yeah. A lot of them are.
Yeah, I was talking to Yutaro, Warriorism, a few months back, and we were talking about that, right? Hey, these guys, they kill people, they burn monasteries, and stuff like that. They rob and steal, so they're not nice people, right? So you should know what you're getting, right? Because otherwise, you'll be in a funny situation, right? Cool.
Not that anybody that gets those things without knowledge are wrong or anything; they just don't know, you know. But it's good to know, you know. It's good to know why not, right? I think it makes the tattoo richer. Has more value when you have this story behind this and authentic kind of thing. Going back to what you said, like, what's your favorite thing to do? When people come to me to get tattooed, I normally try to push them towards an authentic title, meaning this character with this thing and that goes together. You want a snake? Okay, so we do snake and botan. Snake and botan is a specific title. Snake and chrysanthemum is a different title. Let's not put chrysanthemum and everything together, make a salad. Let's just stick to one proper title, authentic title. That's really my favorite to do, and that's what I try to push as much as I can. If you want, you know, because a lot of people, you know, I'm in America, so there's a lot of different people getting tattooed by me, and a lot of people just start drawn to the Japanese just visually, and that's great because it's a beautiful thing. Aesthetically looking, it's amazing. It's a great thing, but a lot of times it's like, oh, I like, you know, the Kirin, and I like it this, and I like that. I want those things inside my tattoo. I'm like, well, those things don't really go together. You know, if you want a food dog, okay, we'll do a food dog, but we'll do it with peonies. Oh, but I like cherry blossoms. I'm like, we could, but it won't have the proper meaning of why, you know, because everything there's a reason. Right? Shishi and botan, you know, they go together. It's a very specific reason. Shishi's a, you know, dominant creature, and nothing really defeats it. And the only thing that gets to the Shishi is all the flies that eat their eyes, you know, and all the mosquitoes. And the botan is a natural repellent, so they surround themselves with peonies to repel. So there's a story behind it, not just this flower goes just because. Everything is for a reason, like tiger and bamboo. All those things are connected in a much deeper way. And by knowing those things, it just, for one, it sells the tattoo much better. A client comes to me, I want a tiger, and I explain to them the tiger, this, and this. They're like, wow, I just learned so much that I like it even more. I wanted to get tiger, now I really want a tiger. I feel like it goes with who I am, And I feel like that it's part of the beauty of the Japanese style that other styles don't have. So why not, use that or have that as a priority in what you're creating? Because in this style that exists, so why not, have it proper? That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's extremely important in making the right decision for who you work with, right? As a collector, right? You should go with somebody who knows what they're doing and the reasons why things go and don't go together, right? So, and by the way, what's hilarious when you said don't make a salad? I think I'm gonna steal that one. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's I get a lot of that. People want every flower because they like them all, so they want every flower, and they don't understand that it's a seasonal thing. So the flower has to do with the overall look of the tattoo. If you have all cherry blossoms, going to have a spring feeling overall, or depending on what leaf you have, maple leaves, whatever, fall. But if you mix them, then that feeling is gone. It's fall, spring, it's everything together. You can mix it, and it's not a rule or it has to be. All these things I'm saying because of what I think is the best possible way. Doesn't mean I wouldn't tattoo that. Doesn't mean if you come to me and you want a full dog with cherry blossom, I'll do it. But I'll first explain to you why it should be another way. If you still feel like that doesn't matter to you and you still want it, you have absolutely all the right to get whatever you want. Maybe it has a different meaning to the cherry blossom represents your kid or something that you want that, and that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not as, I guess, traditional. It's not following, that structure as much. But I'm not Japanese. I'm not in Japan. I tattoo people that are not Japanese for the most part. So you can do whatever you want, man. It's nothing I don't think is, the worst thing that you could possibly do. I just feel that 99% of the time when you explain the meanings to the client, they're all about it. They're like, oh, yeah, of course. I didn't think about that. I didn't realize, and that's fine. They're not supposed to. It's okay. It's, I'm actually getting a lot more new clients that are young, they want large scale stuff and did research. That's a new thing. That's like in the last 5 or 10 years, people are coming to me like knowing the names, what they want with what, and that's pretty cool. It's cool that I think that's one of the good things about this whole internet thing. People are getting a little more knowledgeable, especially if you know what you're looking at, what you're going after. But at the same time, that can also be a little tricky because the internet is full of whatever. So I have clients that are like, oh, I looked up this character and it said this. I went to another website, I said that. I'm like, yeah, well, the truth is that these are all stories. Some of them are written down. Some of them are just passed along, verbally. So, there is a little bit of a flex, between those kind of things. And there's also, like I've seen a lot of people talk about Horiyoshi and, like, oh, you won't mix this, but I saw a Horiyoshi piece that was mixed. I'm like, yeah, that's because Horiyoshi has crazy knowledge and he knows something I don't know. That's why he's doing that. Not because he's just doing it flip-flop. He's doing it for a reason. Like I've seen Horiyoshi sleeves where it's like, I don't know, the peonies, everything, bodysuit, and then there'll be like a hanya or maple leaves just around the hanya. That's because the hanya is that title that goes with the maple leaf. So if you notice the maple, just around that subject, not around anything else. So this is a deep knowledge, So that's another mistake younger artists do. Like just because another tattoo artist doesn't mean you should. You should study it first before you understand why that was done. So you can't really compare. You can't just be like, oh, Horiyoshi's a scholar. Dude's like an incredible dude. He has more knowledge. He writes Japanese and tattoo in the land, like the Japanese style that like doesn't even exist anymore. He writes this. So you can't really compare. people think that like they scroll through Instagram, oh, there's just another Instagram page. It's just another guy. It's not just another guy. This guy is next level, you know. So it's interesting, you know. It's interesting the way that works.
Awesome. Yeah. Rodrigo here dropping some knowledge bombs for everybody.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Cool. So actually, let's shift gears and let's just look through some of your works. The way I do this, I don't say anything. Well, I do, but I'll let you do the talking first, and then I'll add my sprinkle of comments.
This customer is an incredible guy. He's a Spaniard. He's a super humble, super cool human being, and he came to me with a few pieces on his thighs that he got when he was younger, looking to cover those up. There was a cover up over some scars and stuff. And this is kind of the second phase on this bodysuit. The first part was his back. The back that it's a Kintaro back piece is the same. It's the same gentleman. And we started with the back piece. He already knew what he wanted for the back piece. And like I said, most clients come to me already knowing like what kind of stuff they want. You know, this guy already came wanting a bodysuit and knew that he wanted a Kintaro for the back piece. So we started with that. And it's funny, man, because everybody's different. That's another thing about tattooing. You know, every client is different. Everybody reacts a different way. The first session we did, this guy was very tough. You know, I lined the Kintaro with a part of the koi, the top part of the koi. And man, he took it really, really tough, man. He took it, exactly that one. He took it extremely tough getting that outline. You know? After I was done with the outline, I thought, oh, man, this guy, he might not come back, man. It was too extreme. You know, this guy's not gonna. The next day, he messages me and he's like, I know what I want on my front now. I'm like, bro, were you not there yesterday, man? It was crazy, like, you know, like it was hardcore, like. But he wanted a Tamatore Hime for the front, you know, and because he, again, going back to what we were talking about before, because he figured, you know, Kintaro is in the water, right? Tamatore Hime is water, so it's gonna go together, you know. But if you know the story, Tamatore Hime is in the ocean. You know, Kintaro is a river story, you know. So it is water, but it's different, you know.
Yeah.
Water. And, you know, I told him that, you know, I don't think it's completely wrong to do that, to do a different figure in the front. But I explained to him, and after I explained to him, he thought that it would be better to just do koi in the front. It would be more, you know, everything kind of matching a little bit more. You know, with tattoos are very specific, I think, because it's on a human body, right? So when you see the back, you don't really see the front, right? So a lot of times, like, you could have different things in the front and the back that have nothing to do with it, and it still be cool because you're not seeing one when you see the other. So aesthetically looking, it could be okay. No, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It wouldn't be wrong or anything, I think. You know? And as a matter of fact, I've done bodysuits on people that I did the back maples and chrysanthemums and the front cherry blossoms and peonies, and you don't see from the back to front. You don't see, you know, any maples from the front to the back. So it really works. It's not like completely wrong. It's a little bit of a mix, but at least visually it works. You know, like the back has that feeling, the front has a different kind of feeling, you know. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, you know. And yeah, man, I go for more the aesthetic kind of idea, something that looks good. Having the meaning is great. It's good to have the meaning and stuff, but, you know, it's also important for the tattoo to look right and to be pleasing to the eye, you know. Did you have any more questions about this piece?
Awesome. No. So actually, obviously we're publishing this in YouTube and Spotify, so people listening and not necessarily looking at the stuff as they listen to it, right? But obviously, right. We're looking at the back piece. And the back piece, like Rodrigo said, Kintaro riding a black carp, right? And then we have some carp in the legs, and then some momiji scattered throughout, right? The water, background, obviously. It looks fantastic. What I liked about this one, why I chose this bodysuit is just. I like the limited color palette. I think it looks great, very classic, like you were saying before.
Yeah,
and then also, I'm glad that obviously that the person listened to you, right? Because I'm gonna go back to the front here. In the front, right, we see more Carp, right? And obviously it looks natural. It looks great. It's a water themed suit, and it looks fantastic. And right, and listening to those rules of tradition, right, if you will, they're rules and they're tradition for a reason, right? Because they make sense. So it's a fantastic bodysuit.
I had fun doing just maple leaves and background on the arms. The arms are just maple and background.
Yeah,
that was pretty fun. And I really enjoy transitions like on this one from the chest to the arm where the spiral goes onto the arm and it takes you into the chest. That's a really fun thing to do. Something that you really don't accomplish unless you're like, you know that you're doing a whole bodysuit. You know that it's all gonna flow together, you know. So that was a really cool, challenging thing to do. I've been very fortunate in my career to do a lot of large scale work. I would think this is probably like if at least my 8th or 10th bodysuit that I've done so far.
Awesome. Yeah, I like what you did there, like you were saying, right, with the shoulder, how the shoulder connects to the chest area, right? You can see the water undulating there.
Right.
It looks great. Looks fantastic. Cool.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right, let's move along. I'm gonna move a couple pictures into this next one over here.
Yeah. Kumonryu Shishin. This guy is probably one of the toughest clients I've ever had. He's a Russian gentleman, very, very cool, Eugene, and he's a cyclist, so he's an athlete, you know. So I think that kind of like helps the toughness on it. But this guy is like nails, man. This dude is like, I was surprised, like, you know, because I have my whole bodysuit done, and it hurt me a lot, man. I had to really, really concentrate, focus power to get it done. It was no easy task. And when I tattoo people that just take it so well, I'm very impressed, man. Very impressed with like the sheer will and the strength that some people have, man. This guy's an incredible human being. He just, when I started working on him, he had just recently moved here from Russia, maybe a year before that. And he was getting ready to get his bodysuit in Russia, but then he moved and he asked the artist that he was going to get tattooed by who he'd recommend to get tattooed with in the US, and he recommended me. So I was very fortunate, you know, that this guy showed up in my as a client. Yeah, this is another thing where like he came in with nothing. He had 0 tattoos. When he came in, he knew he wanted a warrior on his back. He wasn't so sure about which, and we spoke about it extensively, and he did a lot of research, and he really liked the idea of the tough guy thing, and you know, the 9 dragon suit that this character has. So it's kind of an embodiment of himself in a way, I think. So he decided to do dragons on his arms as well. To go with the whole thing, like we were talking about before, you know, embodying this character. But yeah, man, he was consistent. He come in once a month, solid 4 hours a session, and we got a lot done. In this picture, I'm on the 2nd session on his sleeve. The back piece was already healed for about a year. We're in the 2nd session on the sleeve. I did one more session on that sleeve and finished it. And I think sometime next year, he's going to be coming in for the other sleeve. He used to live in New York. He's recently moved to California. So, but yeah, man, this is one of my favorites because of you know, the character. Very challenging. The patterns are very challenging, but it's definitely makes it a lot easier when the person can take it really well. You know, it really gives you the freedom to be able to like take your time and really make it happen. You know? I'm glad you like this one, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I also see that you're doing well. You know, you mentioned you have a handful of, or maybe more than a handful by now, but of bodysuits. But I do like, you know, because you have that flexibility is not the right word. I'm searching for words here, but like, you know, that unity in your design, right? And I was curious about the arms, and then you mentioned he's getting dragons, right? So that's pretty pretty cool.
Yeah, and like
Also,
after the dragons, I believe he wants to finish the bodysuit open in the middle and doing the front, and we'll get there. We'll get there. He's a consistent dude. I was thinking of maybe doing some trips out to California, so when I'm out there, I could do a session or two. That should be fun.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So yeah, as for those listening, obviously you heard all that, right? Kumonryu Shishin, he obviously has nine dragons. That's the whole name, right? Kumonryu.
That's right. 9 dragon Shishin.
Momiji scattered throughout, right? And then of course dragons being built throughout the body as well. Very cool piece. Right. Very cool piece.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
All right, let's see what else we have in here. All right.
This one, yes. Tengu. This piece is on an old friend of mine that I've been tattooing for years. He's actually got a lot of tattoos by my mentor, Harry Seda. He's a Puerto Rican dude. And he's just a good guy, man. He's a really good dude. And he's pretty open to getting stuff. He wanted something very impressive in his front. He has a Kintaro back piece, not done by me, on his back piece, done by a good friend of ours, Daniel Cote. He's a Puerto Rican artist in New York City. But when it came to me to do the front, he wanted something very impressive, something big. He liked the Tengu idea. Really? And I had yet to do a large scale Tengu in the stomach like that. Yeah. And man, it was one of those things where everything aligned. He wanted something cool that I wanted to do. So first session, I started on in the city. I was working when I first moved up here, I'd go down to New York City once a month and do a guest spot in a friend of mine studio, John Reardon, his Greenpoint Tattoo Company. Mm-hmm. So I do guest spots there once a month, and I started this piece there. First session, I drew on the Tengu and lined the entire thing and shaded all the gray. So the dude's he's a tough dude, man. Really tough guy, you know. He took it well, so I was able to get a nice big chunk done. So it was a nice encouragement. I did some work on his chest. That snake on the top left there is mine too, from quite a whiles back. And we just do like on the other side of this Tengu, there's a fan, and then there's another flying Tengu on the ribs, and just kind of like that theme throughout, you know. This guy's, he's a collector for many years. He's actually a bus driver in New York City. And man, he's an excellent guy. Shout out to Harvey. And I'm very fortunate to be able to tattoo this guy. He's a great dude. And we still have some more work to be done, but this is what we got so far.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like this one. It's pretty clever. For those listening, we got the Karasu Tengu, the bird-like Tengu, small Tengu, like flying there by the ribs. Then you have this huge Tengu face in the middle of the torso area, right? I think that's pretty interesting. And then I think I heard that there's another Karasu Tengu on the other side as well, which makes sense, right? This looks pretty cool. Again, I chose some of the cool pieces. You have too many cool pieces, but I chose a few, right?
Cool, man. I like these. These are cool, man. I think one of my favorite parts about this tattoo is the sneaky spot with the belly button. Do you see it?
Yeah, no, I looked at it. I was
below the teeth.
Yeah. I was like, "Where's his belly button?" And then
it worked out. And it looks like the mouth is going in there a little bit.
Yeah.
That was one of those happy accident things. Not accident, but, kind of, just, I think those are the kind of things that you get when you freehand stuff on, you just, sometimes those little magic little things come out and you're like, that's the, when I originally drew it, I wasn't thinking exactly that, but it just worked out perfectly. I'm very happy with this tattoo. It's very cool.
Awesome. All right. let me stop sharing here, go back to the main man here. Rodrigo, I have two more questions for you before we call it wraps.
Sure.
I've sort of heard this one. I've heard circles of your views on this one, but I still like to ask it regardless. And the question is, like, what's your take on the Horishi-Client bond while you're doing the tattoo, and maybe even afterwards?
That bond really has mostly to do with the client, whether or not they, I have some clients that have become friends, and I have some clients that I tattoo and never saw again. So it's really more on I'm very fortunate up here. I'm in Woodstock, New York. I don't really tattoo anybody from this area. I tattoo some people, very few, but I'd say 99% of the people, they travel to, so some of these people are coming from far places that, I probably would never go to, or just never see them again. And it's kind of the beauty of what we do, right? It's a living canvas. So this person, regardless of what they do in their life, this tattoo is going to go with them. They go to jail, or they do this or do that, whatever they're doing, it's gonna it's gonna be there with them, as long as they're around. So it's kind of a cool thing. But as far as relationships, man, like I said, there's some that definitely form a relationship, but there's a lot of people that know, and that's okay too. I feel like very, other than tattooing, the only other job I've ever had was carpentry. I'm a carpenter by trade. I learned from my father. And so I feel like tattooing is that kind of a thing somewhat, how it used to be in Japan, where, it's a trade, you ask you get this person comes, he does it, and that's it, so a little bit more humble perspective in that sense, we're just putting things on them, putting beautiful images on people's skin. And sometimes they want to hang out and be cool, and sometimes they don't. Either way is absolutely fine, it's just more importantly is that our professional relationship is proper. Show up when they're supposed to. They're not going to. They let me know. That kind of thing. I find it much more important than having, want to be my friend after. I'm a busy guy. I got a family. I got mad stuff to do. So, if that happens, that's a great thing. But I would say for the most part, it does. Most part, they do their own thing. They keep in touch, and whenever they come into town, I have somebody come and visit, things like that. But as far as friendship, it depends on the person a lot. I tattoo a lot of tattoo artists, so those end up being more of a friendship thing because I end up seeing them again and again. I'll do a convention, they're there or something, so they're a little bit more in the whole, in the scene. But as far as just a regular customer, it really depends on them and what their feeling towards me is. Either way, I don't mind it. It's trying to be cool, great. If not, it's okay too. Everybody's busy. Everybody got their own thing. I got clients that come to me, on their day off. They drive 4 hours right after they get off work. They get tattooed for 4 hours, then they drive back to work. So it's crazy, man. It's a lot, so I can't expect somebody like that to, go any further than our professional relationship. And that's just fine. I do tattoo a lot of people. So, the numbers add up, and it becomes a little hard sometimes to keep up with people. Even myself, I feel like there's some clients that I wish I had kept up with more, but it's just life, man. Life. There's only so many hours a day. And there's so many hours a day that you can do things. So, yeah, man. Some people are cool like that, some are not, and that's okay. Either way, it's the professional relationship is great. I love meeting new people and getting to spend that small slither of time with them. That it's a very small time that you spend with them, but it impacts their life tremendously. So it's a very interesting kind of a relationship that we have with clients. It's pretty cool, man. I like it. I personally am a people person. I like talking to people. So for me, it's a part of the enjoyment, getting to see people every day. If it wasn't, it'd be a little bit lonely, because I'm in my studio basically by myself. So, and the only people I interact with are my customers. So that's, it's a very cool thing, man. It's a very cool thing.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and in fact, you mentioned people from all over the country and maybe the world, right? And I think I opened up with saying how a lot of people had suggested you be on here, and I got people from the East Coast bringing your name up. I got people from the Midwest bringing your name up. People from the West Coast bringing your name up. So yeah, it's pretty interesting how people fly in or drive in or whatever to get done.
It seems like this tattoo world is huge, but it's kind of small,
Yeah.
In certain ways. It used to be smaller, but now like it's broken off into different styles. So people that are into what I'm doing, that style that I'm doing, would know who I am. But if you're into, portrait, realistic, you probably wouldn't ever heard of me, So, and that's okay, because I don't know a lot of those guys either, and that's fine. It's a different kind of thing. We all put ink on skin, but everybody got their own way and their own perspective of how to do things and how to go about it. So I think that's what makes it beautiful, the diversity.
Awesome. All right. Last question for you. Pretty simple. What's next in the foreseeable future for you?
What's next? I don't know, man. I've been here in my studio for about 3-4 years now, private studio. It's just me and my wife. My wife also tattoo artist. She apprenticed under me. Anna Melo Tattoo on Instagram. You check her out. And it's just us, man. Just a little family deal. I got a little daughter that I don't know if she's ever gonna tattoo, but we're definitely gonna teach her how, and take it from there. But yeah, man, I've been enjoying this last couple of years just in a small studio, just focusing on what I do, just focusing on doing the best I can do in a nice, comfortable setting. I tattoo a lot of naked people all the time, so it's nice to just be comfortable and relaxed in a place where they can just let their guard down and be themselves, so that I can do my thing better. Sometimes I need a person to stand 10 feet, 10, 15 feet away from me, so I could look at it from an angle and perspective. Work in a shop full of people and covering themselves in little things, like it gets a little awkward, not as a good flow, not a good, relaxed kind of a thing. I mean, I've worked in tattoo shops my whole life. I know how to work in that way, but I certainly prefer to do it this way. I'll do the same what I do everywhere, but you're gonna get the magic specialness here if you come here to my studio. And I'm right on the creek, so it's a nice, relaxed, nice zen atmosphere for us to create art. It's all about inspiration, and I believe that tattooing is a type of performance art. Tattooing is a performance art where the person comes in that day and you have to perform. You have to create something out of nothing on their skin. So if you come in today to get tattooed by me, you're going to get one tattoo. Come in a week from now, even though it's the same design, it's going to be a different tattoo, different feeling, because that happened that day. Maybe you had stuff going on that day. Maybe I had stuff going on that day. Maybe you're not in a mood, or maybe you got some stress because of something or another. All those things affect it. The client's stress affects the way I perform, because it radiates through their skin. I feel it. If they're stressed, they're in a rush, they gotta go. They're thinking of something else. For one, they're not gonna take it as well, and two, I'm not gonna be as comfortable and relaxed doing what I'm supposed to do if they're kind of stressing me out, or they're not in their best zen place. So I feel like that's one part of tattooing that people don't kind of recognize, that it is a performance art, and we are making a type of performance, a performance that you do it once, and then it's like taking a picture. It captures that moment in time, it captures that space that you're in at that moment in time. So that's something very interesting, and just for collectors out there, the happier your artist is, the more zen you guys are, the better work he's going to do for you, the more time he's going to spend with you, so you got to make it as easy and as chill as possible, because that's when the real love comes out and the real art comes out. You can't compare tattooing somebody that's cool to somebody that you don't like. It's going to be two different tattoos, man. They're going to be the same. So yeah, definitely definitely something to think about, when doing what we do, for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Rodrigo Melo. Rodrigo, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, man. It was a real pleasure, man. Thank you so much for considering me for your interview, and I wish you much success in everything you're doing. I see that you're like a proper person, a collector that's really into this and not trying to take advantage of it in any way. So that's a beautiful thing, man. Thank you so much for being doing what you do, and being this eloquent and with this style of tattooing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and likewise, wish you a lot of success and now and in the future. Thank you very much. If you would like to learn more about the world of traditional Japanese tattooing, follow the Waboripedia Instagram page, hit like and subscribe in the YouTube and Spotify channels, and stay tuned for the meanings and stories behind Japanese tattooing, Horishi interviews, and more.